Imagine being a parent and getting a call ukuthi umntanakho has been murdered in what is believed to be a mob justice incident. Now that is the dreadful call that Umam Rachel Bowe got last month, informing her ukuthi a 20-year-old son Karabo had been murdered in what is believed to be a mob justice incident.
Ma ake sikhulume ngoKarabo. Akungitshele ngoKarabo ukuthi beka umntana onjani.
Mina njengoba ngumzali uKarabo mengaboni into embi kuye bengahambi naye ukuthi ngize ngibone ukuthi wenza ububi endlini bekahlala akhona umuntu ohlala akhona athanda ikwaye bengazi ukuthi Tuesday na Thursday na Wednesday uye quiet ubuya uze ekhaya ayikho into engayibona kuye embi.
Isuke lapha ma yonke lento uthiwa uKarabo wenzeni kahle mabafika la endlini
mabafika mina ngibuzile wabuza nomntanami wathi kanti kahle wenzeni yini into ayenzile mangabe khona imoshile sitsheleni ke sibhadaleni bathi sifuna ayosibonisa asazi ukuthi ayobabonisa abangani khona abantu ababafunayo makafika lapha akushoke labo mngani lo zange ke bamthole asekwashowa yena ngibizwe sebathi nangu uKarabo ulele la phansi sekunamaphoyisa ngabo abomakhelwane baye batry ukuthi babiza amaphoyisa yes so amaphoyisa athola ukuthi sokulate mara bekaphila
umbona umntana akhelele lapha phansi enqondweni yakho yini into boyicabanga?
Ingqondo yami bengathathi kahle ngokuthi bengingabhekanga ukuthi ngaze ngibone into nje ethusa kangaka umntanami ashawa kabuhlungu kangaka aze afe ukuthi ngeke ngathuka ngaba ngenye indlela angazi ukuthi ngayibeka ngathi ngaphelelwa amandla.
Ushaywa ngani Karabo?
Ushaywa Karabo bebaphethe amaharafu ipinopik le kapayo so yes le kapayo and uKarabo bokunesibhamu futhi baye bamjubula ngisizwile isibhamu ngingapha masithi thwa ngoba bamshayele ngapha emkopani
khona la emphakathini abantu bomphakathi labenza
basho njalo bathi abathu bomphakathi.
A really sad tale indeed. In the words of Police Minister Begicele, South Africa has become a war zone. On that note, we want to say hello, Dumelang, Sanbonani, South Africa. Welcome to Expressions, your #1 current affairs show here on SABC. This is definitely the place for you to air your views. I'm your host, Jacqueline Mapala.
I'm your host, Umqolisi Wagwamasango. Sizagine Bkoma from our studios in Auckland Park, Johannesburg. Why is South Africa such a violent nation? Now, youth violence has become deeply normalized in our country. We ask, is society to be blamed for the violent nature of the youth of South Africa?
Oh, that's a very important question because according to the latest statistics, 57 South Africans are murdered in a day. The police minister, Begicele, admitted that he himself was shocked by the 2017-2018 crime statistics. Meanwhile, youth violence seems to be on the rise, with young people at the forefront of violent looting, cash transit heists, robberies, gangsterism, violent protests, as well as mob justice.
Well, at the back of that shocking insert we just saw, Jackie, as Expressions, we took to the streets to find out what is breeding this violent nation. Take a look at this.
Mob justice zama ukafula yona le crime le ngoba yona lama gangster yabulala abantu commit some crimes then they get away with it.
the best way ukuthi amaphoyisa amele enze umsebenzi wawo because kubuhlungu ukuthi bakubambe unkunzi uthi police station bakutshethe iprofi kuphi. You understand? Obviously uzothatha inyathelo ezandleni zakho.
Abantu abapasha abavumbula umphakathi abafuna ukushaya abantu nebagcina bashaya nabantu abahongo.
First point that I'd like to raise is that because of peer pressure. You know, when you do something just to please your friends, that thing will backfire you.
Issue unemployment that is very high within our community. That's caused a problem to let these young people to be active in terms of this violence that are happening.
The Department of Education needs to sort of enforce extramural activities in schools again, because you find that 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock when school comes out, these kids come back and there's absolutely nothing for them to do.
Lack of parental commitment is also a greater issue. Parents must be involved.
We can sit around, you know, as adults, especially families and communities, to come together and help the young people because we're in need of help, you know.
Some thought-provoking comments there coming from the street. But to help me unpack this so important conversation that we're going to be having in studio, I am joined by Lauren Tracy Temba, who is a researcher from Justice and Violence Prevention Program, which is a division of the Institute for Security Studies, And I'm also joined by Twarelo Mulaudi, who is a zonal secretary of SANCO in Davidton. Ladies, welcome to Expressions.
Thank you for having us.
And of course, with me in studio is my co-host, Umqolisi, who is going to be manning our social media corner, bringing some of your comments on this also important discussion. Ladies, let's get straight into it. I think maybe Laura, let me start with you first. I mean, what is this telling in terms of the mindsets of the young people when we're seeing so much violence, when we're seeing so many criminal activities? What is this saying to us about young people?
I mean, I think there's a clear indication that, you know, our young people are extremely angry. They're frustrated. And, you know, there's just sort of this despair with what their living conditions are. And all of this is impacting on, you know, just getting that frustration and that anger to be just generated into acts of protests, violent protests as well. I think one thing we also need to understand is, you know, protests don't always start off as violent. Initially, there's a whole process that occurs before a protest gets to the point where it gets violent. So often it's a case of, you know, communities have raised their concerns. They've spoken to institutions of authority, be it the police, you know, your local community leaders, your ward councillors, and they're just not getting the circumstances, the grievances that they are dealing with in the community addressed, and then often just take the law into their own hands, be it in a protest, a violent protest, and that is how things escalate.
But I mean, Twarelo, you are from Davidton, and we saw just that harrowing incident of Karabo's mom. I mean, is there real, can we say poverty and lack of development and economic situation is good enough reason for why we saw a scene like that?
Yeah, we can attest to that because the rate of unemployment is very high. The challenge that we are facing in Davidton, it's extremely, extremely scary. We have people who are not working. We have students who are loitering around doing nothing, and at the very same time, here we are talking about radical economic emancipation. What are we saying about that? We are saying nothing. You know, we are supposed to promote the issue of education. If we can do education a fashionable thing, whereby we conscientize our youth to tell them to go to school, maybe things like this we're going to be less, and we won't have this mob justice happening. And besides the whole thing, there's a person behind the whole thing. No one can say a 9-year-old decide to start a group of young boys to have a gangster. Somebody behind is pushing the whole thing.
And maybe the question is society to blame for this? Where are the parents? Where are the community leaders? You know, who is responsible for this? Lauren?
I think, I mean, and that's a very good question to ask. You know, what we're seeing amongst young people in particular is you know, parenting plays a big role. You know, you're finding that we have a generation of young people who are particularly desensitized to violence. And I mean, this is because, you know, they're often exposed to it, be it in their homes, at schools, amongst their peers. So this exposure to violence, whether it's during protests, looting of foreign-owned stores. You know, they're seeing that on a daily basis. So they're desensitized to the violence that's happening around them. So it makes it almost easier for them to take part in it because it happens around them. They see it on a daily basis and they immediately see that as a form of engagement that they should be taking part in.
I mean, there's definitely a lot to unpack. You know, Mahatma Gandhi said something so interesting around the fact that poverty is the worst form of violence. But is this a justification for what we are seeing in our communities? It's up to you to decide. You're watching Expressions. We'll be back right after this.
You're still watching Expressions, your hashtag #1 youth current affairs show. We're talking about the youth and violence. Is society to be blamed for the violent nature of the youth of South Africa? I'm now joined by Moiketsi Lekwa, who's a young community leader from Soweto. Expressions. Great to have you on the show. And of course, now do make sure on our social media pages. We are on Facebook as well as on Twitter as Expressions_10. Let's get this conversation started. Lauren made a very interesting point in which she said youth is now desensitized. I'd make an example. Say in one of the inserts that we even saw, instead of going to find out the first thing you reach for your phone, you take a video. Would you agree that we desensitized as a nation?
No, for me, it is really wrong. I mean, we need to help these people. That's number one. We need to help them. If the incidents of magnitude happened, like you need to call the police with immediate effect. You don't have to shoot the videos because while you're shooting the video, the person is getting hurt. They are killing that person. So that is why, and those people that are getting hurt in most of it's not fair for them.
But Mogezi, as a community leader, is it just a title that you hold? I just want to know, what is it that you're doing? There clearly needs to be something that you're doing as a community leader.
Okay, me as a community leader, this is what I'm doing. I'm worried, like we are taking all these youth kids, we take them, we make them the patrollers in the area, because of we're taking them from the drugs problem, because of most of them that they are smoking nyaupe, because of, and the cause of for them to smoke nyaupe is because of Aguna skill center. So Morgan skill center, and these people, they are very smart. When they are very smart like this, Aguna skill center where they work, they empower themselves. Like they don't care. The government doesn't care about them. They don't care about the youth. That's why you find kids. I mean, they're retiring, they're doing everything, things like that.
Okay, so Gushuti now uzovumelana nami mangithi kuwe one critic once penned an article yakona eyathi government's failure to educate the youth yona le that has led to the youth being condemned to a life of hopelessness, which is why benza violence emalokishini ethu.
Absolutely, I agree with that, because of, if you can see, these kids, they are very smart. And the way they are very smart, and when we engage them, I normally engage them. I talk to them. When you talk to them, the way they answer you, you can feel that, I mean, this person, I mean, he knows what he wants in life. Except that it doesn't have the opportunity. So young people here, young youth here in our generation, I mean, they are suppressing them. You know, and it's not fair for them to be suppressed. That's why they end up looting, they end up killing people, they end up being collaged with wrong people, you know.
Moiketsi njenge community leader mfethu mina ngifuna ukwazi bengise Davidton. Ulusha lase Davidton are hopeless. They've lost faith kuma community leaders. Abazi basically uthi umsebenzi wenu yini. How do we make sure ukuthi umsebenzi lo enwenzayo nina comes to the attention of the youth, the relevant people that are supposed to be receiving what you do?
Okay. What Tina, as community leaders, all we want the support from their parents to give us their kids, so that you can speak to their kids and show them what is happening in our area. Because of these kids, they need to be busy with something else. Right now, they don't have anything to be busy with. That's why they end up doing that. So when as community leaders, we fight for them to get jobs. The most important thing is to create more jobs for them. Because of when they are finished at school like this, they're not getting anything.
I see some very interesting visuals as well. On our TV, perhaps another thing is the quality of abantu esibukela kubo phecelezi ama role models. I think Lamalangas idolize the sex, the drugs, the alcohol on television, which is something that we perhaps also need need to shy away from. But first, let's quickly check in with your social media. Mbugeli. Fezile says it all begins with idleness. As much as the government doesn't meet the youth's demands, it doesn't mean, therefore, that the youth can't do anything. There is so much that the youth can do apart from the government's help. Gebo says young people nowadays are too lazy to work on their own things. They were given free education but still drop out of school to go look for a fast life and easy ways of getting money. We are not to blame the government. Talwando says, hello guys, I'm enjoying your show today. Wow, thanks Talwando. And of course, Mbugeli, we always encourage you to be interactive and talk to us. Ingako, we also check in with your expression for this week.
The reason why young people are always in the forefront rather, or engaged rather, more often in public violence activity, leadership, is the fact that there are no, I would say, facilities for development rather, or extramural activities within our community or our townships. That's one of the reasons that young people tend to be much more engaged, you know, in such activities that are so not pleasant to our economy or our community, right?
Wow, interesting point. Basakhuluma ngama role models ke sijika kanjani indaba yokuthi umuntu ekhaya abukele from abantu laba benza izinto ezinhle emphakathini instead of the sex, drugs and alcohol abantu sihlezi sibabona mabona kude.
You know, this thing starts with the family. You must be a role model when as your father and as a father, as a father and as a parent. A kid it's not supposed to go ayengaphandle kube role model yomuntu othize abheka athi mina ngithanda into eso because of abantu asabaphile esona and everything, because of it puts more pressure from them to the kids. So that's why I end up abenza into eso because of ufuna uphila a nice life now, and which is this life it is not good. But for me it starts with you. You need to be a role model for your kids. Imntwana ukangabi role model yomunye umuntu. So we need to protect them, like protect your kids, support your kids, everything that you do. If you can go to Japan, you will see, I mean, these kids, I mean, they grow them, and they teach them. So slightly culture, that side, they have their own culture where they, I mean, they grow them with it. This is what you need to do. You don't have to eat this, you don't need to do that.
So it all begins at home. Just one last comment before we head to ad break. Katleho says, young people are used to fight political and personal agenda. Now politicians buy young people to do their dirty jobs. They pay them money to cause violence. That's all in our social media sphere. Now, of course, we take a quick break. Remember to phone a friend to tell a friend that the biggest current affairs show is now showing. This is Expressions. Back after this.
Welcome back. You're watching Expressions, your #1 current affairs show. Did you tell a friend to tell a friend that the #1 current affairs show is actually on air? I hope you did. But today we're talking about a very important topic around youth violence. And the poll question that we're asking you, Kochaye, is society to blame for the violent nature that we're seeing among young people? I'm still joined by Laron as well as Sorolo. I mean, what is the way forward? I think that's a simple way to sort of just wrap this up. What's the simple way forward, Lon?
Well, I think as long as issues of unemployment and poor leadership persist, we're going to continue to see young people make use of violence to portray their frustration. So there's a clear need for better role models, people that they can trust. Your institutions such as your police, institutions of authority, your ward councillors, your local leadership. Those are people that need to be able to mentor young people to show them that engaging in acts of violence is not exactly the way to go. Then obviously education plays a very important role as well, ensuring that young people are not seeing violence as the best form of action that they need to take, that there are other avenues in terms of addressing whatever grievances they're facing in their community. So education in the communities from their parents plays a very important role.
So education. Tarolo, your closing comments.
The city of Ekurhuleni currently is busy with conscientizing a community about mob justice. Sanko has launched Khuluma Mhlali on the 26th of May, whereby community needs to go and express their feelings. If I'm doing wrong to you, don't hesitate to talk.
So violence is definitely not the answer.
No.
Ladies, thank you so very much for coming to the show and giving us a lot of insight on this so important conversation.
Very insightful, JK. And Mbugeli Lapekaya, as you do know, we like to involve you in everything we do. That's why we check in with your video diary for this week. Here we go.
Hi, Expression. I would like for you to discuss albinism awareness. My name is Masilo Dambe.
Looking forward to that. We're going to change your perspective on this particular issue.
It's going to be a very interesting discussion on that one. Sibonge Nago Mbugeli for joining us this evening. Now, Cutting Edge is up next. I'm battling to keep this lady away from our stage. Her name is Gabby, and she plays us out this evening. Have a spectacular evening going forward. Take care.
Adios.